Lovely. Hello, everyone. Jester Bell is here, female Frodo Baggins. My notes for Tron Ares. Okay. So, throughout this year, there was one movie trailer that I thought looked like it might be good. Like, I just thought that, not that it was going to be a masterpiece, but one trailer this year that actually intrigued me. And that was the trailer for the movie Tron Ares. I thought that was legitimately something that might be decent to watch, and I won't be recording a rant for it. And I couldn't expect exactly just how demoralized and disappointed I would be by watching it. Even, leading up to the release, a couple weeks before the release, knowing the plot that was going to happen in this movie. But this movie, it encapsulates, it's just a movie filled with every single negative trope that Hollywood has. It's a bait and switch movie. It is not centered around Jared Leto as a sole protagonist going on an arc. Not that I like Jared Leto, and that's another thing, casting him in this, which we will talk about. No. That's not what Tron Ares is. Tron Ares was marketed as being, re-exploration of the Tron universe with Jared Leto as the lead of all people. And he's not a sell either. But what they don't show you in the marketing and whatnot is it actually mainly centers around Greta Lee's character, who is the girl boss of this film. Literally, she fills out all the tropes of the girl boss that we will talk about. But you have to understand, if you are a fan of the Tron franchise, and to be fair, Tron hasn't had the best time with critics in the past, and I don't think that it's entirely unwarranted. I've never been able to get into the first Tron. Tron Legacy has some things I really like about it. I was able to watch it the other day. But, it's so jarring to go from Tron Legacy, which is, the story of Sam Flynn finding his father who disappeared and reconciling with his father who disappeared and wanting to take on his legacy and having a very optimistic and hopeful ending finally for that character. It was already leaked online. It was already said that they were not going to continue with that story. In fact, they were going to have it so that the company under Sam Flynn failed and got taken over by Greta Lee's character, who was able to raise it from the ashes. So we already knew that they were going to do the bait and switch trope. And this has happened with so many films at this point. Right now, it's a question of not what franchises has it happened to, but what franchises has it not happened to. All these franchises with male leads having the main character in the beginning either subdued or demoralized, or he failed and he's gonna get replaced by the strong girl boss character. And that's what Tron Ares is. And once again, I knew that is what I was gonna get from this movie walking into it. I knew that, but for whatever reason, it's like I wasn't even prepared for the feeling that I would get after having just watched Tron Legacy and the hopeful ending to that movie, to have the first opening seconds of Tron Ares in just a few lines of dialogue. They just do a voiceover about what has happened in between the time. And they tell you that Encom under Sam Flynn was crumbling to the ground. And then Sam Flynn quit, and he went away for, quote, personal reasons that they will never explore in the movie. They do one tease at the end, and I don't care about spoiling this thing, one tease that Jared Leto's character is gonna go find Sam Flynn, but in the opening seconds, they just give you a couple lines of dialogue that Sam Flynn, his company crumbled under him, that he went away for unspecified personal reasons, and then these two sisters, one played by Greta Lee, took over the company and rose it from the ground and made it into the amazing company that it is. So yes, it begins by announcing that the John Connor trope has happened. I am officially calling this trope that you are a fool. You are a fool if you think that this isn't a trope in Hollywood these days with all the franchises it's happening about getting rid of the male character, either demoralizing him, turning him into a depressed person who gave up, regressing that character arc. That's what it essentially is. Destroying the character arc and the character growth from the previous film to give it so that usually a female character can take that growth for herself and take that success for herself. That's what it is. And the reason why I think that maybe, Luke Skywalker might be the most prominent example of this, maybe the most high profile, where, he went from being the hopeful character to the depressed person who gave up, and then Rey becomes the person who is going to get to train the Jedi in the future. Apparently, that might be what they're doing in the future Star Wars films, and Luke failed at that. But I want to use it as the John Connor trope because I think that is even more blatant about what this is and what it does to you at the beginning of a film. In Terminator Dark Fate, and I keep forgetting that film, you have the opening of the movie, and it's set right after Terminator Judgment Day, where at the end of that movie was supposed to be hope for the future, where John and his mother and Arnold Schwarzenegger had succeeded in giving humanity a chance at the future and a chance to avoid their dark fate. But in Terminator Dark Fate, it literally opens up seconds after that after all that and all the success that they had with John Connor being gunned down. John Connor, the character who is the key point to the Terminator franchise and is supposed to grow into this leader who saves everyone. And every single Terminator movie is about protect John Connor. And they open that movie with killing him, erasing the triumphs and the developments of the previous film. And in this case, what those films were actually about. And that's what Tron Ares does. And this has happened with film after film. But that's the trope. That is the trope. I officially referred to as the John Connor trope. And that's what it does at the beginning of Tron Ares. Now, forget how bad the movie is after that. But to open the movie up with this character, that was one of the things I liked about Tron Legacy. I'm not saying that Tron Legacy is perfect at all. It has plenty of flaws. But I did like his character journey in that movie. I liked him. And they open it up saying that ending, that hopeful ending to Tron Legacy, gone. All the development and growth and optimism gone, taken away. That movie is meaningless now. And now we just have his triumphs and successes taken over by this new girl boss character taken by Greta Lee. But it's even worse than that because they say, Greta Lee, her character, took over the company with her sister, who we find out in the movie, she and her sister built the company back up. We find out that her sister has passed away. So there's this dynamic of her, trying to live up to the legacy of her sister and honoring her sister. So they literally steal the relationship between Kevin and Sam Flynn and give it to this new girl boss character. His character is stolen and his relationship with his father is stolen and given to this new character. So it's even more infuriating than that. So that opening sequence that lays all this out for you just completely, it's the same sensation of the way you feel if you have ever unfortunately watched Terminator Dark Fate and John Connor is killed and you just feel the gunshot, and it's the gunshot of everything that this franchise was supposed to be and what you liked about just going away. You just destroyed, shot. And that is the opening for Tron Ares. And I just, kind of sat there just demoralized after all that. They opened up the movie by shooting the franchise in the head. That's how Tron Ares opens up. But of course, it gets even worse from there. I've already gone through this movie, opens up with John Connor syndrome, the John Connor trope, and it is definitely a trope. And it makes no sense that companies, especially Disney is the one company, especially, that will not let go of this. There has been no evidence that either critical or commercial success can be found with doing this trope. Even the critics turned against, making Indiana Jones into a depressed old man. The critics aren't thrilled with this movie. I don't know. The most hilarious headline I saw for this movie was Tron Ares makes you wish that AI will hurry up and destroy Hollywood. Critics aren't loving this. And obviously, so many franchises have lost money after they went in this direction. So there is no evidence that this direction, this trope that keeps being used, is good for business or good for accolades. There's just no evidence of that with doing this with mainstream movies. But they keep doing it again and again and again, and they will not stop. And I believe that they will kill their entire industry before they let this thing go. Because it's not about money or accolades for them. It's just about keeping on this idea and this message. So, if you've watched the beginning of Tron Ares, I just want you to take your daily pill, men. Men are failures and will always fail, and all your favorite male characters will always fail. So, take your pill, man. Okay, we're not even... this video is going to be hours long, and it's just Tron Ares, but yeah, we've gotten through the John Connor trope, and I just gotta say, the John Connor trope, like, that kills your movie. If you open up your movie that's a sequel or a reboot by invalidating everything that has happened in the previous film, all the triumphs, and assassinating the lead character, your movie is dead. And that's how I felt. It's like that same as the sensation I felt with Terminator Dark Fate, is that it doesn't matter what happens in the movie from here on out. You've already ruined it for me in the opening. But unfortunately, we still have more to analyze, because who is this girl boss character played by Greta Lee that we get? Well, she is awful. Just an awful character. Once again, like, she fits in all the tropes of the girl boss character that we've been seeing again and again, where she doesn't really have flaws. She's a humanitarian, and she's competent in everything, whether it's technology or getting in the action space, and everyone adores her, except the main villain, who is an evil 20-year-old white boy who's taken over this main company, and he's incompetent at it. And I'm like, haven't I seen this character recently in like Alien Earth and in so many other projects? It feels like a bad impression of Jesse Eisenberg in The Social Network, or Mark Zuckerberg type character. They're literally everywhere, these boy geniuses who are actually really, really incompetent. But there's another one of those characters, and like, that's the thing about this movie, is there's a lot of box checking, and like that's the entire movie. It's a lot of box checking for like different tropes. Like, you've got the villain who's the white boy genius who's actually incompetent, but even he has his mother crawling over his shoulder and literally slaps him in the movie and telling him all the things that he's doing wrong. So that's the villain, the only person who's allowed to dislike Greta Lee, who he's trying to kill. But anyway, Greta Lee is just quintessential Mary Sue girl boss. The only time in the movie where we get any kind of flaw with her is when Jared Leto tells her, because Jared Leto is playing this AI, he tells her, oh, I read your text, and he found out that she's really insecure about her sister's success. But, like, we don't see that in the film. We never see her as being an insecure character. We just get Jared Leto saying that. And then afterwards, we don't really see that. But I guess by the end of the movie, he's like, oh, so I hope you don't quit. And, like, she regains confidence, but she never really lost her confidence. So the arc or lack thereof of this girl boss character is that she gets revalidated by Jared Leto that she is amazing. Like, that's what she is. But, like, there's not much to her. Like, she's just there to fill out the trope, and that's it. And on top of that, Greta Lee, like, I know that she is a storied actress or something, and I don't know if she starred in or I think she directed one of the Oscar contenders a couple years ago. But she cannot act in this movie. She felt like she was in over her head. Like, she didn't understand what she was supposed to do in this movie. Maybe that's because at least a portion of it was done on green screens. I don't know how much. But it felt like she was a fish out of water in this movie. Like, she's supposed to be playing this super capable character, but her performance felt confused. Like, if you were to cast your aunt in your short film, it's supposed to be an action movie, and she doesn't know what to do in that movie. I can't think of a better way to describe it, but the acting in this film is so wooden. So moving on from Greta Lee for a minute, let's go to Jared Leto. Nobody likes Jared Leto, and I don't understand why they keep casting him in things when he's a pedo in real life. But, you know, sometimes it has happened before where people just keep casting and hiring bad people in real life in these things because they make a lot of money and they can't let go of that temptation. But Jared Leto has no sign that he actually makes money at the box office. And he is bad in this movie, really bad. It's similar to Greta Lee that it feels very wooden. To be fair, he is playing an AI, someone who doesn't experience emotions but is trying to. He's essentially Data in this movie. But, if you watch Data from The Next Generation, Brent Spiner was able to give a personality for the character through the fact that he was so stiff. Like, the awkward attempts from his character of trying to be human would give him personality and create a chemistry with different characters. But Jared Leto has nothing like that. There are some lines that I can tell we're supposed to, have some of that quirkiness and awkwardness, but he just has a blank stare throughout the entire film. It is such bad acting. And his character as well, that's the thing about this film, is there's nothing to it. In the beginning, I thought maybe there would be something there, because this film is all about AI and technology advancing, and Jared Leto is this AI created by the villain who becomes interested in actually becoming human. That's what he is. He's actually, like Data, like Pinocchio. He wants to be a real boy, essentially, and he is curious about human emotion. But what happens in the film is he actually doesn't go through a journey with that. They present the idea that he's this advanced AI that is just somehow experiencing some empathy and emotion, and then he becomes a real boy at the end of the film, and they don't explain any of that, and he doesn't actually go on any sort of journey with that. He just is this way as a premise. He wants to be a real boy, and he becomes one somehow at the end through going through the video game and meeting the original Kevin Flynn or something like that. There is just no actual story to this movie, and there's no actual character development. It's like they came up with a premise, which the premise is about digital creations being able to become, to exist in real life. That's what the premise is. And then they don't actually develop it or explore it any further. They don't have anything to say. The dialogue in this movie is awful. So it's like this movie is all about, digital creations being able to become real and Jared Leto wanting to become a real boy. And their insight into what it means to be alive and to live is essentially Greta Lee literally turns to the camera at one point to Jared Leto while he's just musing about her texts and, about her insecurities or whatever that we never really ever explore. And she's like, life is complicated. There's love, there's hate, but it's all good. It's all good in the end. It's complicated. It's like something like that. I don't have it memorized down in my head, but the only things that they have to say for this movie are the most superficial things. Life, if you want to be real, that there's good and the bad, and that's all this movie has to say, even though it wants to make you think that it's really intelligent. There's a line in this movie that is the permanence code should have been called the impermanent. I guess the thing about life, it's not permanent. That's a nice one. That's a nice line there. It doesn't actually have anything to say about life. But this movie is also AI propaganda. I saw some people online wondering if this movie was written by AI. I guarantee that part of this was, especially with the amount of films lately from Disney. They admit that they use AI. The amount of movies I've seen from Disney that seem like they're borrowing things from other films but not actually making them work because they don't understand the context of how it works, it feels like AI. But this movie is some AI propaganda as well. And there's been a lot of that from Hollywood. That Creator movie from a couple years ago was all about how AI is actually an oppressed group who is actually really friendly and good. There's a lot of pro-AI propaganda from Hollywood. But this film, there's a really, even the tagline of this film is "there's no going back," which is what I keep hearing people from Hollywood saying in regards to AI, which not so subtle there. But there's this weird moment in this film where they're going through, Jared Leto is going through Greta Lee's history, her files and stuff like that, and old interviews that she's done because she's amazing and everyone loves her. And she's doing this interview at one point in the film where she's talking about AI and the applications, and someone asks her, well, why would you want to talk to an AI when it's a fake person? And she said, well, what if I could use AI to talk to a dead person, someone who is no longer with us? And they just kind of throw that line out there and don't explore it. It is implied in the beginning that she is talking to an AI of her dead sister. And it's that's a big concept to talk about the, even the ethics and the negatives of using AI to recreate someone who has passed away. Is that even respectful to the person who's passed away? I would say no. And then is that healthy at all for the person when they're not moving on and just trying to recreate their deceased person in AI form? Like, that is a huge ethical conversation, and it's even something that, at least, even though it wasn't done well, touched upon in Ironheart, the Ironheart show, where the ethics and the drawbacks of creating a dead person, recreating them through AI, is at least brought up. But here they just throw it out there with the main character, who is supposed to be our girl boss character, where everything she does is amazing and she's a genius. They just throw it out that she believes that AI, a positive application for it, would be to talk to people who have died from the past. And I'm like, that is a horrifying concept, and you could have made a movie where you explore that, especially since your movie is about living. You could have made an intelligent movie exploring that concept, but instead it's just a throwaway line that makes it sound like something positive, and they're not even going to explore that. I mean, we saw it in LA Comic-Con. They already had like an AI of Stan Lee, so it's like, it's ironic from Hollywood. And, my stance on AI is going to have positive applications and negative applications, and they all have to be reviewed. But it is funny that Hollywood has kind of tried to make it seem like it's on the moral side for the past 10 years or something. But when it comes to AI, with every application of it, they just have fully embraced it. Even AI will bring dead people back, and we can pretend that dead people are still alive. It's ridiculous, and it's part of just what makes this movie just kind of disgusting to me, the kind of not so subtle AI propaganda. But, so this entire movie is just recycled tropes that you will see from every other Disney movie. The girl boss, the emasculated male characters. Jared Leto is kind of a boyish character with no development. I understand he's supposed to be, but in other cases, there's like Greta Lee has this male sidekick who's effeminate and stupid and silly, and then the main villain is like this boy genius who's actually super incompetent and stupid and is whipped by his mother constantly, who is always right. And it's like, it's all of these tropes. And yes, the John Connor trope of killing off the old male hero, not killing him off, but getting rid of him and giving his story and his character development to someone else. It's all there. And I just felt so demoralized after this film, because it's like, this is what Hollywood films are. And after so long, they don't change, and they will not change. I don't believe that Hollywood is ever going to change away from this stuff at this point. They just keep going to the same tropes. And this has been the worst year at the theater for me. At this point last year, I had seen Wild Robot, Inside Out 2, Dune Part 2, several films that either I really liked, or Transformers 1. I'm not really a Transformers person, but that's a good movie. It's a well-made movie. But this year, I haven't seen one movie at the theater that I have actually liked. So I think that Hollywood is actually just going to die. I think that they are going to kill themselves on these tropes, and they have no one to blame but themselves because they refuse to change. But yeah, Tron Ares. Anything good about the movie? Well, I did like the visuals in 3D in the beginning. And I like some of the songs, but as I kept watching the film, it just got to a point when you realize that it's style over substance, and the cool visuals lose their novelty because you're just realizing that there is actually nothing there to the stories and characters, rather than just checking the box to these various messages that they want to promote, whether it's like the girl boss trope or it's the AI propaganda. This was the movie that they, after like 2 months of having no movies, this was the movie that they were going to lead with for the fourth quarter, and that was supposed to bring people back to theaters. This movie. And the trailers actually looked good. And they killed it on these dumb tropes again. It's time for us to band together and save the movie industry. Not Hollywood. Hollywood is going to die, but just filmmaking as it is in America. I am working towards that position behind the scenes right now to be able to make actually movies myself. So, if you are making any of your own stuff, let me know in the comments below. Please consider becoming a member or a patron, and I will see you guys next time.